at the time of Fred Hampton's assassination, was it something that he had done specifically, or was it an accumulation of things that he had done up until that point that had got him assassinated?
Well, the Black Panther Party was already declared as the number one threat to our country by the director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover. And a lot of people are familiar with this declaration that we have to fight the Black Panthers. But in the 1960s, of course, the FBI and its illustrious leader, J. Edgar Hoover, who was incredibly paranoid, but also he was a stalwart of the status quo, of the government. But he was also paranoid. So when you have people who are trying to change the way in which people are treated and people are employed or housed, or if you're trying to make changes to a system that took lots of years to get to where it was, that's a challenge to the status quo. And all of the movements of the 1960s were under investigation and surveillance of the FBI and local police intelligence agencies. So the Black Panther Party had already been designated as one of the greatest threat to the United States. And so Fred Hampton, by extension, being a part of this, Fred Hampton was a little bit different because he was so young and because he was so successful. So the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party was co-founded by Hampton and Rush and a few other people in November of 1968. By January of 1969, J. Edgar Hoover had made that pronouncement that the Black Panther Party was a threat. So Fred Hampton, who had already made a name for himself in the suburbs of Chicago, the outlying areas of Chicago and Chicago itself, having now been deputy chairman of one of the most successful branches of the Black Panther Party, he was a target. He had already been a target since late 1966 and early 1967, but especially now that he has a national platform like the Black Panther Party. So this was not, the youth group, the youth arm of the NAACP in Maywood, Illinois. This was now a national stage. And Fred Hampton stepped up. And he impressed the national Black Panther Party leadership so much that by the time Fred Hampton was killed, he was slated to take over the leadership of the National Black Panther Party. Because the top four people in the Black Panther Party, that is Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale, the two founders of the Black Panther Party in 1966. Huey Newton was in jail. Bobby Seale was on trial and probably going to jail. Eldridge Cleaver was in exile in Algiers. And then that left Chief of Staff David Hilliard, who was facing criminal charges himself. And he was trying to decide whether or not he was going to face those charges or join Eldridge Cleaver in Algiers in exile. Had that happened, Fred Hampton would have been the next in line. And this cat was only 21 years old. He had not only taken the Illinois Black Panther Party and made it one of the most successful chapters in the country, but remember that he also did it during his tenure. He was in prison for 3 months because he had been convicted and sentenced to 2 to 5 years for unarmed robbing of an ice cream vendor in Maywood. So he served 3 months during his tenure as deputy chairman of the Illinois Black Panther Party. So in an even shorter period of time, Fred Hampton was energizing not only Illinois, but he was also traveling a lot to Wisconsin, to Michigan, to Ohio. He was overseeing some of the branches and chapters in New York, Louisiana, and other places. So he was the de facto Midwest spokesman for the National Black Panther Party. So he was impressing people left and right in a very short period of time at a very young age. And had Fred Hampton made it to the national spotlight, I do not believe that they could have killed him at that time. Because think about all of the Black Panther Party members that were killed from 1967 to, well, we could say 1982, which is when the Black Panther Party ceased to exist. But we're saying from 67 to 74. Most of the Black Panther Party members who were killed by police or killed outright were the young, grassroots, local leaders, not the national leaders, because they were in the spotlight. They were, to a lot of people, they were deemed untouchable. And had Fred Hampton made it to that position, I think he would have been untouchable as well. So what was Fred Hampton doing at the time? Well, Fred Hampton was, like I said, he was moving up the ladder of the Black Panther Party nationally. He was traveling a great amount to take the plight of Black America to all corners of our country. And 2 weeks before he was killed, he even went on a tour of Canadian universities. So he took the Black plight of America and went into Canada, where they were having their own troubles, not only with Black liberation, but also the Native Americans in Canada. So he met with representatives of the Indian Métis organization. And so it wasn't just a matter of him going into Canada and saying, dig me, I'm here, it's all about me. He wanted to know what the problems were for Indigenous and Black people in Canada as well. Much like Malcolm X, much like Marcus Garvey, he was taking the experience of Black America and making it a nation or a worldwide concern. He was taking it internationally.